Alright guys, so today we are going to be taking a look at some waders, and we're going to be looking at the Drake Eqwader 2.0, and then this is going to be the MST variant. Drake makes a couple different variants of their waders. They have the EST, MST, and LST, and basically what that is early season technology, mid-season technology, and late season technology. So like I said, these are the MST, which means they're going to have 3.5 millimeter neoprene and then 800 gram thinsulate boots. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at all of the features. We'll start at the top and work our way down to the bottom. So the first thing we have is the shoulder straps, and these are buckle free so that you don't have anything in the way when you're shouldering your shotgun. However, they are kind of thick straps and they just velcro over the top of each other, so they're kind of double layered. So they still kind of get in the way a little bit. And I've had some problems with these, and I've heard other people having this problem as well, and that's that they can't get these tight enough. I basically have these as tight as they'll go right now, and I still got quite a bit of room to play with here, and I constantly have problems with the shoulder straps falling down on my arms. I'm only wearing a t-shirt right now, so it's an even bigger issue, but even during the season when I got layers on, I still have problems with the shoulder straps falling, so that gets a little bit annoying. And I will say these are the smallest waders that they have available, and I'm 5'10", 5'11", and I'm still having problems with that. Down at the bottom of the straps on the chest you have two plastic D-rings. I use these for clipping on my carabiners when I'm walking around picking up decoys. If you have a hand warmer pouch or a shell pouch, you can also clip those onto here as well. There's definitely no shortage of pockets in these waders. Starting off up at the top, there's a big magnetic pocket, and this pocket goes all the way from this side of the wader all the way to the other side, and then comes from the top all the way down to this first seam. So tons of room in here to throw whatever you need to throw in there. And then on the inside there is also a zippered waterproof pouch. And this is about the size of a phone, and that's usually what I put in there is my phone. And then while we're on the inside, there's also a hand warmer pouch that is fleece lined. And it's really nice that this pouch is on the inside as opposed to the outside, because it keeps it away from the water and also keeps it right up against your body so that your body can kind of warm that pouch and keep it nice and toasty there. So I really like that that pouch is on the inside. On the front side of this big magnetic pouch on the front, there's also two smaller pockets. There's a zippered pocket that's waterproof on this side, and then there's a magnetic pocket on this side. And I believe this is for kind of like stowing away your calls if it gets rainy or something like that. I usually stuck one of my waterproof flashlights in here whenever we were walking in to our spot. Down just below these pockets there are 6 shotgun shell loops, and you can actually fit 12 shotgun shells in here as long as they're 2 3/4 or 3 inch. If you move up to the 3.5 inch, they take up too much of the space, so you can only fit 6 of those. I didn't really use these shotgun shell loops too much until later in the season. I started putting in some crippling loads in there whenever we were going out to pick up ducks and finding some cripples, so they are kind of nice to have. There's an included wader belt with these waders, but it's not very easy or quick to make adjustments to the fit of the belt, so I hated using it. Also, because these are neoprene waders and they're a little bit more roomy, which we'll talk about a little bit later, whenever you tighten it down, the neoprene just kind of bunches up and it's not very comfortable. Down just below the belt line on the front of the thighs there are 2 more pockets, and these are just neoprene that's been welded on, and then they have a drain hole down at the bottom. I didn't use these pockets a single time the entire season just because they're not waterproof and they're down kind of at that water line, so I didn't get any use out of them. The knees, backside, and then down around the ankles are all reinforced with a little bit of extra material, and this material is just welded onto the top of the actual neoprene, and then the knees and the backside also have a little bit of added padding. The material that it's reinforced with seems pretty durable. I haven't torn or ripped it yet, however I have had it start to come loose at some of the seams down on one of the knees. Alright, so onto the boots, arguably one of my least favorite features about these waders. So, like I said earlier, there's material that comes down over the top of the ankles as reinforcement. Why is this there? It's there because there are buckles on the actual boots that can be used to tighten them down around your ankles, and that material comes over the top to keep those buckles protected. So what is it that I don't like about this? First of all, that material is really tight around the boot, and in order to gain access to the buckles, you have to pull that material up, and since it's so tight, it's really hard to get it up just to be able to see the buckles, and then once you do that, it's even harder to get it back down around the buckles. Second thing I don't like is the buckles themselves. They're pretty useless in my opinion if you get boots that fit. They're very hard to use, they're really small and seem pretty fragile. I think they're over-engineered by Drake in my opinion. I don't think there's any use for them. And then the third thing I don't like about the boots is up at the top where the neoprene meets the boots, it's super tight. I mean, they're really, really thin up there. So it's really hard to get your foot into the actual waders. I struggle with it all the time. I've tried to do things in order to open that up a little bit, like put a football in there and let them sit out in the heat a little bit to see if they reshape. Hasn't helped. They're still really, really hard to put on. Alright, so let's talk about the fit of the waders. I don't know how well you can see this, but they're pretty roomy up in the chest and also down through the legs. I mean, there's tons of room for layering in here, and even when you got layers on here, they're still pretty loose and baggy, at least on me. And like I said, these are the smallest size they have available, and they are still pretty stinking roomy. A little too roomy for my taste. The boots seem to run pretty large too. These are a size 8, which is a full size smaller than my everyday boot. And they seem pretty comparable to a size 10 muck boot, which would be a full size bigger than my everyday boot. I added an insole and it seems to help with the fit a little bit, but they are still kind of loose on me. So how are they holding up after 2 years of owning them? And really it's only 1 year, because the first year I owned them, I only used them a couple times because we were mainly field hunting. The second year I used them probably 30 times out hunting, and then some other times out doing some scouting and things like that. Overall, I don't have any big rips or tears in the neoprene. The boots aren't cracking out, but I do have some stitching coming loose on some of the shell loops, the shoulder straps, and some other various spots around the waders. So with the seams on these waders, Drake claims they did something better than anybody else out there, and that's that they've sealed the outside of all the seams with a silicone, and then the inside they have seam sealing tape that runs through all of the seams. But they still leak. Towards the end of the season, I started getting some water into my waders, and I thought that it was because we had walked through a lot of submerged sticks, and I thought that I just punctured the waders somewhere. But after the season, I went through looking for holes, and I found that all of the water was coming through on some of the seams, mainly on the inside of the leg and up along the crotch. So even though they claim that they've done something better than everybody else, I'm still getting leaks in the seams. So I'm pretty disappointed about the waders leaking already. Again, it's not really any fault of my own. They're leaking around all of the seams. I've went around with Aquaseal and started filling some of them up, and each time I get back in the water with them, I seem to find a new spot where the seam is leaking. So I'm probably just going to go around all of the seams and cover them with as much Aquaseal as I can possibly do. These waders do come with a small repair kit. There's some like silicone, some tape, and then 2 pieces of neoprene. But this repair kit really isn't for fixing the seams. It's mainly for patching actual holes in the neoprene. So overall, I'm kind of leaning towards the dislike column on these waders. I'm not a big fan of the fit. They're already leaking after really only 1 season of use. They only have a 1-year warranty. And I'm already past that 1-year warranty period, so it's up to me to do all the repairs. And the retail price on these is $300, so that's a pretty big price to pay for a pair of waders that's going to leak after 1 season of use. And they are packed with quite a few features. You know, you get the shell loops, all the pockets and things like that. But I found that I wasn't using a lot of the features that these waders come with, like the buckles around the boots. Some of the pockets just are useless to me. So they kept me dry for almost a whole season, but now I gotta try and repair them, and hopefully I can repair them enough that they won't continue to leak. I'm kind of skeptical about that. So I've already bought another pair of waders, which I will be doing a video of soon. I got those in, but they are a little bit too small, so I'm going to send them back and get a different size. I don't know if I'll do that video before I send them back or after, but they are the LL Bean waders, and I really like the way they look. They're a breathable wader, so I'm looking forward to trying that out this season. If you like this video, guys, make sure you please leave it a like and subscribe so that you can see my other wader video whenever I get that up. And then some other review videos this off season, and duck season is quickly approaching. I think we have just a little over 3 months now until teal season, if I remember right. So getting super excited for that. Hope you guys are as well, and thank you for watching. I hope you guys have a good day.